We're going to start with the Carolina Hurricanes. Last season, they were first in the Metro with a 54-20-8 record, 116 points. Second in the Eastern Conference and third in the league last season. Head coach is Rod Brind'Amour. So this offseason, they lost Ian Cole to the Lightning, Max Domi to the Blackhawks, Josh Levo to the Blues, Nino Niederreiter to the Predators, Brendan Smith to the Devils, Vincent Trocheck to the Rangers, and Steven Lorentz to the Sharks. They signed Ondrej Kase from the Maple Leafs, Paul Stastny from the Jets, Martin Necas 2 years re-signed, and Ethan Bear 1 year re-signed. The only notable UFA that they have is actually Derek Stepan, who's got 9 goals and 10 assists last season. And their offseason trades were Hurricanes traded future considerations to the Las Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for Max Pacioretty and Dylan Coughlin. They also traded Steven Lorentz, goalie Eetu Makiniemi, and a conditional third-round pick in 2023 to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for our guy Brent Burns and Lane Peterson. Big moves here. I feel like they lost a lot, but also gained a lot at the same time here.
Yeah, Pat, I don't know if you want to jump in first. I'm still digesting here. If you need me to, I can take it.
There's a lot to digest here.
It is. I mean, it's interesting because, obviously you saw this team have a really, deep postseason run last year, and yet still, changed out a lot of guys in their roster.
Yeah.
Trocheck you would think is a big loss, but, adding a guy like Stastny I think is a really interesting impact. It's a guy that adds some grit, some size, that has some, extensive playoff experience that I think is going to go a long way for a team that, couldn't quite get over the hump. I mean, certainly they had their struggles on the road last year.
Right.
That I think that's going to be something they're going to have to, find a way to overcome this year, especially with a much tighter division. And, it's going to be a lot harder to finish first in that division than maybe it was last year.
Right.
So, there's some other, seeing like Kotkaniemi potentially fall down the lineup a little bit is, speaks to just how deep they are, especially, and again, having a guy like Stahl still in the lineup, even at his age, he still contributes a lot that I think, you definitely can't underestimate, especially in a playoff run. So,
I just think the standard has been set too high for the Carolina Hurricanes for too long. Last year, they really shined in the Metropolitan, taking first place. I think this is the year that they take a little bit of a step back. Nino Niederreiter, Vincent Trocheck out the door, Max Domi. I mean, Max Domi doesn't bring all that much to the table, but seeing him go, I don't think it's going to be enough.
No.
Brent Burns coming in isn't going to cover for that. I don't know. I just think that, they're still going to be there. They're still going to be a playoff contender, but this isn't the team that's going to get the job done. Last year probably could have been, but it's just too competitive of an East team, and I just think it's a step back for the Carolina Hurricanes.
I feel like Nino Niederreiter is probably the biggest loss they had.
Yeah, 100%.
Max Domi, I think a big name, especially for the Montreal Canadiens, but I think we're going to start seeing him getting bounced around a little bit in the league. That's how
he already has been. He's such a suitcase at this point.
Right,
It makes you kind of wonder,
Yeah.
But
let's get into their roster. So Max Pacioretty is actually out with surgery and likely out for the first half of the season. He had 19 goals and 18 assists with Vegas last season. So we're going to be missing Max Pacioretty for half of the season next season. Sebastian Aho is the team leader in goals last season with 37 and assists with 54. Big guy. Jesper Fast, 14 goals and 20 assists last season, which was his career best season. So you're going to see a lot of this throughout the Metro. A lot of these players that would either shock you or be interesting, that a lot of these players in the East, or the Metro I should say, career best seasons that they've had, which kind of shocked me. I thought maybe career best season just in general because we had the shortened season last year with COVID, but I mean, some of these guys have been here for 8-10 seasons, and we're seeing guys just outplaying what they used to. So you're gonna see a lot of this, which I thought was interesting. So I threw those in there.
I would say probably too, if you want, Matt, maybe just touch here and there on some of these. Don't go verbatim necessarily, because there's a shit ton of stuff here.
Shit ton, yes. Yeah. So moving off of just for fast, you have Seth Jarvis, Ondrej Kase, Jesper Kotkaniemi. So he was second best. Oh, no, we'll move on from that. Sorry. Jordan Martinook, Martin Necas, Lane Pedersen, Jordan Stahl, Paul Stastny, Andrei Svechnikov, and Toivo Teravainen. Those are the forwards on the team. Well, let's move on to the defenseman. Jake Gardner is actually out for the season with hip and back surgery, so we're going to be missing him. Ethan Bear, big man Brent Burns, Dylan Coughlin, Brett Pesch, Brady Skay, Jacob Slavin. And then for the goalies, you got Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta. I think they're looking good, to be honest. The names...
Yeah, I think they're still going to be there, but they can't repeat what they did last season. That's definitely not going to happen. And I honestly could see them getting bounced in first or second round.
Yeah.
It kind of just maybe I'm just leaning too heavily on Brent Burns here. 10 goals and 44 assists with the Sharks is very good for a team that was very bad, but he's getting up there in age. I don't know. Could be the next Joe Thornton. You know?
He's had some injury history too, if I remember right.
Yeah, I believe that's correct too.
And obviously Freddie Anderson as well. I mean, did he come back in that playoff run last year? I couldn't remember if he did.
I think he eventually did because Ranta came in like that rookie came in for a couple games, and then Ranta and I think Anderson might have made it back in. Am I right, Matt? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, because Antti Ranta had his little run, but Freddie Anderson, just in general, he was second in the league with his GAA of 2.17, and also third in the league with his save percentage of .922. So he's still up there.
Yeah.
I just brought this up again. I don't know if we talked about this last week. I can't remember, but I talked about this with my coworker that we did the breakdown of Freddie Anderson and Peter Mrazek that season where Peter Mrazek went from the Carolina Hurricanes to Toronto, and Freddie Anderson went from Toronto to Carolina Hurricanes. So it's like Toronto is like that place for goalies to die, you know? Like their stats look so much better in Carolina than they did in like Toronto.
Well, in Carolina, you got a much better D-core in front of you than you do in Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all offense in Toronto.
Exactly. They'll happily take a minus. You know, Jake Gardner notoriously in the playoffs against the Bruins would have like -7 games because that's he was just out there to score goals. They were going to outscore the other team 8-7 if they could.
One thing that I notice in this league, though, is usually when you're one of the top 3 goalies in the league one season, statistically, you don't really get back to that same pace the next year. I think the league starts to figure out a little bit. And, I mean, goal scoring is just always on the rise. So I think we might see a little step back from Anderson, hopefully a little step up from Ranta.